Who's this? Hello?
Hello?
War Pig, is that you? Oh man, I'm playing some Halloween Nintendo games, man. What are you doing? You're on that Call of Duty, huh?
Who is this?
War Pig? It's me, bro. You're the one who called me. Forget it. Anyhow, man, you gotta stop playing that Call of Duty beta and jump on some of these games, bro.
You have to have a favorite. What comes to mind?
No way. You first.
Guess.
Nightmare on Elm Street by LJN.
Freddy, that's right.
Yeah, that's it.
I like that movie. It was scary.
Sure was, bro.
You never told me your name.
Wait. You must have the wrong number. Anyhow, why would you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
The 80s and 90s were great times to be a kid. Join me as I dive into the world of movies, music, video games and toys, and explore what made these decades so great. This is the Big Retro Show.
Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Los from the Big Retro Show, and it's almost time for Halloween, and of course that means Halloween video games. And today I'm going to be talking to you about some of my top Nintendo games to play for Halloween. But first, I'm going to give a shout out to my homeboy War Pig on YouTube. War Pig on YouTube is an awesome Call of Duty player, guys. He makes everyone who does not normally like playing Call of Duty love watching it just because of the skills that he has. He has an awesome channel on YouTube. He's one of the friendliest guys you'll ever come across on Twitter and YouTube. So if you haven't checked out War Pig on YouTube, guys, go and check him out. Subscribe to his channel and throw him some love. And without further ado, let's look at some of my top picks for Nintendo games to play on Halloween, guys. With so many spooky games to play on the NES, it was pretty tough coming up with just 5. The first game I'm going to talk about is Gargoyles Quest II: The Demon Darkness, which is a sequel to the Game Boy classic Gargoyles Quest. Right off the bat, you will notice that the gameplay is similar to its Game Boy predecessor. You start as Firebrand, that annoying little demon, first seen in the Ghosts and Goblins games, whose mission it is to save the land from a demon army hell-bent on destroying everything that Firebrand loves. Can demons love? Never mind. The game is mixed up into 2 basic parts. The first is an overhead world RPG similar to Final Fantasy I, where you roam around the town talking to people and fleshing out the story. It's in this part of the game that you get a sense of where to go and what you must do to set things right. Aside from the villages that Firebrand visits, he roams around the countryside in the similar view. The great thing about this is that when you are roaming the world map, there are no random fight encounters, which I hate. It's mostly you just running around and getting from one point to the next. The other part of the game involves some side-scrolling platforming. Firebrand has 2 basic moves, an attack and a jump. If you press the jump button again while in the air, Firebrand will hover with his wings and you can reach places you might not be able to reach otherwise. Firebrand can also cling to walls with his demon claws, which adds to the platforming of the game. Like other RPGs, completing quests will enhance your ability to jump higher, hover longer, and upgrade your attack power. Aside from his flame attack, Firebrand has some magic he can use to kill his enemies. The game is a great representation of the Game Boy game, and it contains most of the things that we loved from the original game, with the notable upgrade of the color added to the game and the music. The character sprites used in the game are big and burly, and I love that. The boss battles are just the right amount of difficult and add to the overall enjoyment of the game. Sadly, this game is one of the most expensive NES games, but you should be able to find a ROM easy enough to play. A loose copy is worth about $60 on pricecharting.com, and a complete version runs around $183. Next up is probably one of the most difficult NES games out there. That's right, let's talk about Werewolf, The Last Warrior. Anyone who's played Werewolf knows about the difficulty of the game. The game borrows heavily from the Castlevania series in its art style, and you play as Ken. No, not that Ken, but the Ken who can turn into a gnarly werewolf named Werewolf. Your mission in this game is to take down Dr. Farian, who has invaded your turf with his army of mutants. Right off the bat, Ken is useless. His attack is weak, he is slow, and forget about surviving long with him. But you are not Ken for long. After grabbing a red W icon, you turn into the werewolf and are bestowed a longer melee attack and the ability to climb up walls. Your fun, and your entire day, will be ruined though if you should happen to grab a blue W laying around, as it turns you back into the human form and you begin to suck again. Your best bet is to avoid all the blue W's in the game so you have a fighting chance. Anyhow, the wolf also gives you the ability to do ninja backflips, which make you invincible for a short time. And collecting bubbles will charge up your anger meter. After collecting 5 bubbles, your attack does a lot more damage and you can jump a lot higher. There are a lot of cheap deaths in this game, but none cheaper than the water killing you. The moment you jump in the water, you sink like a bag of potatoes and you're dead. Who has ever heard of a werewolf being killed by water? Well, let's just throw away all of our silver bullets, partner. We can get some water guns to kill the werewolf. Right. Despite its flaws, there is some enjoyment to be had, but don't expect to get far without having a game genie or a very patient state of mind. You can pick up a loose copy of Werewolf for cheap though, which is cool. Price charting lists this game at $11 loose and $40 complete. If you pay any more than that, well, I have a W you might want to buy. Up next is Frankenstein, The Monster Returns. Frankenstein is one of those games that I am sorry I missed growing up. Bandai released the game in July 1991, and it was one of those games that I didn't bat an eye at. In this telling of the classic Frankenstein tale, Old Frankie is actually the top monster in charge and has taken your woman hostage. He needs a bride after all, and it's up to you to rescue the gal he has chosen. Her name is Emily. This game too borrows from the Castlevania games, and you start your quest of rescuing the girl with just a punch and a kung fu jump kick. The punch is quickly upgraded into a club and later on into a sword, which with the right power-ups allows you to hurl fire at the bad guys. The enemies are straight out of the old school monster movie flicks, but this time Frankenstein is a head goon. He enlists the services of trolls, bats, mermonsters, Medusa, and Death to reach his nefarious goal of marrying your old lady. What a jerk. All kidding aside, it's good to see Frankenstein as a top boss for once and running his own crew. The game is basically a side-scroller with each stage filled with monsters for you to kill. What more could you want out of a Halloween game? The game is not too difficult, it actually kept my interest for a while, and I forgot that I was recording. It happens. I like the cutscenes used in the game to tell the story of how Frankenstein is the big bad monster he is in the game. As if, you know, he wasn't scared of fire or pitchforks. The music and the graphics are everything that make the NES the charming system that it is. You can pick up a copy of Frankenstein The Monster Returns for a mere $66 and $173 complete in box, according to price charting. There's so much to be said about the Castlevania series, so many great games, but for this review I'm going to be talking about one of my favorites, Castlevania III. Castlevania II incorporated many RPG elements to the series, but Castlevania III was a return to form of the franchise and a must play on Halloween. You all know the plot. Defeat Dracula, but this time the protagonist Trevor Belmont is joined by 3 others who hate Dracula just as much as you do. One of which is his own son, Alucard. The addition of the 2 other characters in the game, Sifa the Sorceress and Grant the Pirate Hunchback, add to the overall enjoyment. Each of the playable characters has their own special attack and abilities. Grant can jump high and climb onto walls. His weapon is a short dagger and he can use the same sub-weapons that Trevor can use. Sifa has a short club as her main weapon and can use a variety of magic attacks including fire, thunder, and ice magic. Alucard attacks with a fireball, much like his pappy, and can turn into a bat and fly around. Each one of the characters has their pros and cons. For example, Sifa the Sorceress can hit people really well with her club, not letting up, but the club is relatively weak. It's cool to be able to turn into a bat with Alucard, but it's not much use. The ability drains your hearts while you fly around. His fireball attacks are slow but powerful. Grant's ability to climb onto walls is useful, however, the range of his dagger attack makes him a lot more vulnerable to attacks. Trevor Belmont's abilities are the most well-rounded, as expected, but he is probably the most boring character to play simply because he has the same skills as the characters do in the other games. Not a bad thing at all, just a little boring. All of the boss battles and difficulty, including some cheap deaths that are in the original Castlevania, can be found here as well. In order to use one of the characters, you must first beat them in their boss form at the end of the level. After beating them, you are given the option of taking them along your path. The game gives you the option of which characters and paths to take, which adds some strategy to the game. All in all, this is a fun way to spend Halloween. What better way than to spend it by taking on some of Dracula's armies? Castlevania III is relatively cheap compared to the other games on the list, as you can snag up a copy for $23 and $92 complete in box. The last game I'm going to talk about is a game that you actually might have heard of, but maybe have never played. The unreleased The Adventures of Dr. Franken is a must-play for Halloween. The game is a straight-up Metroidvania style game in which you take the role of Dr. Franken. Dr. Franken's mission is to reassemble his bride. Hey, everybody needs somebody sometime. And Frankie is ready for some action. He is wearing his striped silk pajamas for when the time comes when he finally assembles his woman. But first, he has to assemble her. To do this, you have to find the missing pieces to put her back together in the massive haunted castle. Throughout your journey, you will collect keys to access other areas of the castle and find the parts that you need to assemble your girl. The ambiance of this game fits the Halloween theme nicely and adds to the overall enjoyment of the game. Your weapons are limited in this game. The main attack is a pea shooter. Your health can be replenished by lightning icons that the enemies drop, and you can also recharge yourself back to full health by visiting your room and stepping into the electric chamber. The game is not without its flaws. First of all, the jumping mechanic is often wonky. The castle in this game is massive and I often found myself getting lost. That being said, the game does have a map that can be accessed, but only by hitting the select button and pulling the map up. It's cumbersome and there is really nothing particularly useful about it. The other thing about this game has maybe to do with the game being unreleased, and that is the lack of boss battles. This game would have been perfect if it would have had some epic boss battles, but there are none to be found. It's a whole lot of wandering around the castle, shooting things, and trying to find the pieces of your would-be bride. Another issue I had with the game is the lack of weapons. The only weapon at your disposal is a fireball pea shooter, which does the job, but the game would have benefited from a variety of weapons. The music in this game is also repetitive, and it could be because they didn't release the game, and as such, neglected to put different music in it. Even with all the issues this game had, I do recommend playing it for Halloween. I had fun with it, and I'm sure you will too. You can find a ROM for this game anywhere online. It should be noted that the Super Nintendo also has a version of this game, but the game is hot garbage. It's not the same game, and it is a must avoid on the SNES. And that's gonna do it for my picks for the top NES games to play for Halloween, guys. What games do you like playing on Halloween for the NES or for any other system? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you are alerted when I upload a new video. Also, connect with me on social media. You can find me on both Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And until the next one, I will see you on the next Big Retro Show.